sadly, as you can tell, we've barely begun the story and the discussion, the opening of the inception of what this story could have been, and we're practically halfway through it. And mind you, I find it even more interesting than what Lord of the Rings was, because now we're dealing with real human evil, right? In Lord of the Rings, it was very evil was very externalized for the most part. I mean, people were still fickle and susceptible to things, but we didn't have the internal squabbling on the level of the evil within, like we are starting to see in this one, which is very more realistic to what we experience now, especially as humans. So Stalon tells Borlas to cut the crap, mentions the name Herumor. It's a name that's supposed to provoke our fear and a sense of awe as to what is happening here secretly behind the scenes in Gondor. And Borlas says, basically, the last thing Ceylon said was, I have keen ears and eyes, but yours are now dim, even for daily use, and the matter has been kept as secret as cunning could contrive. And this is where Borlas steps up to the plate and says, who's cunning? Who's behind this? Ceylon says, why? Those who have heard the call of the name, of course. Answered Ceylon unperturbed. They are not many yet to set against all the people of Gondor, but the number is growing. Not all are content since the great king died, and fewer now are afraid. So it's a small minority listening to this voice of the name, the calling, he says, of this guy, Herumor. And clearly in the perspective of Ceylon, and obviously it's clear that he's one of them, this is a war brewing, right? It's not a argument, it's not a squabble, it's not a matter of opinion. You know, he's not even talking about, well, maybe we can vote our way into the council of Gondor and speak with the kings and tell them that we're discontented and change the laws or change the viewpoints of the people that are dominating Gondor. We just want to be heard. He's not even saying that. He's pretty much saying, we are going to fight you, right? We are not enough right now to go against all the people of Gondor, but we're getting bolder every day. And this is war. This isn't a matter of we just want to be heard, right? And that's an important thing to note, that even Tolkien saw that from this character, right? When we have already discussed what this character represents. So Borlas responds, so I have guessed, and it is that thought that chills the warmth of summer in my heart. For a man may have a garden with strong walls, Ceylon, and yet find no peace or content there. There are some enemies that such walls will not keep out, for his garden is only part of a guarded realm after all. A guarded realm. A realm with borders. Right? A realm with borders to keep out the filth, to keep out those that would subject us. It is to the walls of the realm that he must look for his real defense. Right? It's not enough for me to worry about the fences of my own house. That's just one level of defense. But the real defense doesn't come from that, does it? It comes from the walls of the realm. But what is the call? What would they do? He cried, laying his hand on the young man's knee. So Borlas is now fishing for more information, right? Because he suspects what I'm telling you already, that this is edging for war. This is a civil war brewing in Gondor and in Middle-earth. So Ceylon proceeds, I will ask you a question first. before I answer yours. How typical is that, right? I'm not going to answer your question, old man. First, I want you to answer me a question. Okay. And now he looked searchingly at the old man. How have you, who sit here in the Emin Arnen and seldom go now even to the city, how have you heard the whispers of this name? So Borla says, okay, all right, so I've heard of Hedromor. What are you guys planning to do exactly? And Ceylon says, well, how did you even hear about it? That's what we want to know. We want to know how an old fogey like you, who is connected to nobody, and we've been trying so hard to keep this secret on the wraps, how did you even hear about it? Borlas looked down on the ground and clasped his hands between his knees. For some time he did not answer. At last he looked up again. His face had hardened, and his eyes were more wary. I will not answer that, Ceylon, he said. Not until I have asked you yet another question. So everybody's avoiding questions here. Everyone's playing a chess here that's not even really chess, right? First, tell me, he said slowly, are you one of those who have listened to the call? Very important question. A strange smile flickered about the young man's mouth. Attack is the best defense, he answered. Or so the captains tell us, but when both sides use this counsel, there is a clash of battle. So I will counter you. Oh my God, yet another counter. I will not answer you, Master Borlas, until you tell me. Are you one of those who have listened or no? How can you think it? Cried Borlas. And how can you think it? Asked Ceylon. You notice how this is the constant behavior of these kids? It's constantly throwing it back in your face. How could you think such a thing? How can you think such a thing? How can you, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And this is how you get nowhere, right? You get nowhere anymore talking to people like that. It goes nowhere. You just go in circles. As for me, said Borlas, do not all my words give you the answer? Meaning like, dude, you know me, dude. I am from freaking, I was alive in the time of the Great King. I know about all that stuff. I went through it at a young age as a child, but I went through it. I would never think of joining this little cult that you're a part of, that you're thinking of. And mind you, at this point, Borlas should also be like, by you asking me to ask you, to ask me, to ask you, I already know what your answer is. Ceylon says, but as for me, you would say, said Ceylon, my words might make me doubtful, because I defended a small boy who threw unripe apples at his playmates from the name of Orc, or because I spoke of the suffering of trees at the hands of men? How dare you, right? Why? Because I speak up for what? I speak up for a little boy that did something wrong? Huh? Because I don't want you to call him an orc, because I'm offended that you call him an orc? You call him dirty names, right? Isn't that how we live now? If I feel offended, you must apologize because I feel offended. Apologize to me because I feel offended. Who would have thought that? I mean, and I've read this story years ago, and I never made the connection, right? Because literally until 2020, this wasn't out in the open. It was there. It was the undertones have been there at least since I was young, if not earlier, since the 90s, if not earlier. But it was never out in the open the way it just came out like overnight in 2020 and since. Master Borlas, it is unwise to judge a man's heart from words spoken in an argument without respect for your opinions. They may be meant to disturb you, right? Okay, now that sounds like certain politicians, right? Rioting is meant to disturb you. It's meant to unsettle you. We want it to be brought out in the open so that we talk about it, right? It's meant to disturb you. I wasn't speaking with respect. I wasn't speaking necessarily to insult you, but because I'm so passionate about what I feel right now. I'm so passionate about it that I have to say it even if it offends you, Borlas. Pert, maybe, but possibly better than a mere echo. There's a note on that. I don't know if it's worth looking it up. There's an alternate here. No, Master Borlas, in such a matter one cannot judge words by the shape they are spoken in. Okay, more deception. I do not doubt that many of those we spoke of would use words as solemn as yours, and speak reverently of the great theme and such things in your presence. Right? So, once again, casting doubt, saying, basically, how dare you question me? Just because you are better spoken than me and better educated, perhaps, doesn't mean that you're not just as devious. You can't be just as devious. Just because you mention God and the great theme doesn't mean you can't be a devious devil yourself. So, who shall answer first? Borlas makes another point. Borlas makes another appeal as an older man and says, the younger it would have been in the courtesy of old, right? I mean, at the very least, if we're gonna throw everything else out the window, tradition would say that a young person should show some minimal respect to the generations that came before and speak first when asked. Or between men counted as equals, the one who was asked first. So, and even if you don't respect me as being your elder, if we are both equal men, if we are on the same footing, right? I was the first to ask, so maybe you should answer first. So he says, you are both, right? You are both the younger one, and you were the one that was asked first. So Ceylon smiled. Very well, he said, let me see. The first question that you asked unanswered was, what is the call? What would they do? Can you find no answer in the past for all your age and lore? Do I have to tell you, old man? Are you that stupid? I am young and less learned. Still, if you really wish to know, I could perhaps make the whispers clearer to you. So he's basically saying, you should freaking know, old man. What have we always done in the past when we've come up against what we disagree with? Those of my ilk, those that are in my feeling, those that are sensing what I'm sensing, feeling the way that I'm feeling, rejecting everything that I'm rejecting. We go to war. We fight you. We kill you. We are going to kill you. You dumb bastard. Right? We don't want to negotiate. We don't want to discuss. There is no middle ground. We are going to kill you, and we are only waiting for the moment where we are strong enough to overpower you. And that's always been the truth. And he was seeing that was the case. I think he was hoping in the process of this discussion, as he was playing it out in his own mind, as he was writing it, he was hoping that maybe Ceylon could be talked with, could be negotiated with, that there would be a way to get to the bottom of what's upsetting him so much and find peace. But no, I think even he realized by the end that there is no peace to be had. These people want what they want, and there's something now impregnated in their soul that will allow nothing else.